Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another TMDSAS office hour. My name is Sulima, and I will be hosting today's office hour. Today, we're going to talk about test scores. We have been receiving a lot of questions about test scores, checking the status of them, and why they have been marked as not received when they have already been released. So we'll go ahead and talk about that today for this week's topic. And if you can't stay for the duration of the session, this will be available after it ends. And again, if you have any questions, you can always send those in the chat and we'll address those at the end of our short presentation. So I'll go ahead and get started. And we will be discussing 5 different things about test scores, starting out with entering your test information in the application, releasing your information, so releasing your DAT or MCAT scores to TMDSAS. 3, checking the status of your scores. 4 is what to do when your scores still say not received. 5, updating your test information. And the first things first is to let you all know that you do not have to wait for TMDSAS to receive your scores in order to submit your application. TMDSAS will go ahead and process your primary application without your scores, and scores will be uploaded to your application as they come in. So don't worry about having those on your application. Don't wait on those to submit your application. Go ahead and submit what you have whenever you're ready, and you can worry about your scores later. We do not need those. Our team doesn't need your scores to process your primary application. So for entering your test score information, the DAT, otherwise known as the Dental Admission Test, is required for admission to dental school. For medical applicants and those applying to podiatry school, the Medical College Admission Test, or MCAT, is required for admission. And for vet applicants, the Graduate Record Exam, or GRE, is not required or needed for consideration for admissions. And to review additional information about test scores, you can visit the TMDSAS application guide for details. All right, so we do have a short demo here that was previously recorded involving how to show you how to enter those test scores and your information in the MCAT section and the DAT. So I'll go ahead and play the video. That way you can get an idea of how to enter this information in your application. All right, so it looks like we might be having a little technical difficulties with the demo, with the sound. So we'll go ahead and move on, but we will have these available shortly as short clips in order to refer back to them, even including in the application guide so you can visually see how to enter your information. We'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the presentation. Okay, with entering your test scores, entering this information in your page, either the MCAT or the DAT, is not the way to release your scores. It simply creates the placeholders for your scores to come in and be placed into your application once we receive them. It is critical that you enter your AMC ID number and your DNT PIN, test dates, and date of birth correctly on both your application and your ADA or AMC account. Your MCAT and DAT scores will match to your application based on this information. So it's very important that it matches on both ends. So with releasing your scores to TMDSAS, dental applicants, you can go ahead and release your DAT score to at least one Texas dental school, and TMDSAS will also receive your score. So once TMDSAS receives your score, then your score is available for all your dental schools to view. Any school that you have listed on your application will be able to view that score. For medical and podiatry applicants, instructions are outlined in the test score section of the TMDSAS application with information on how to release the scores. It's a step-by-step instruction, so I definitely recommend that you check that out to follow along with that process. So once those are released, TMDSAS will receive your score within 36 hours from the time that you request a release. So checking the status of your scores. This one will probably not have the sound, but basically it's just going over your status page, as many of y'all know. Just go to the TMDSAS application portal, which you can find here, and right where that arrow is, as you can see under select schools, you also have your status page right under application info. So that's the part where you will click on, select. Once you have that page pulled up, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it'll provide you with the status of your test scores. All your test scores would be listed on that table, listed at the bottom of that page, and it'll let you know if they have been received or not. If it has a date next to your test date, that means that we have already received your score and it's been uploaded to your application. If it still says not received, that means that we have not received it. However, there could be a chance that you did already release your score, and we have it, it just is not uploading to your application. And there's a reason for that. So I definitely recommend that you take a look at this page. 99.99999% of the time, it is due to mismatch information. And what that means is that either your AMC ID or DNT PIN number, your date of birth, or your test dates, whether those are your past test dates or your planned test dates, are not accurately listed on your application and your AMC or ADA accounts. So you have to verify that this information matches on both ends, on both your application and your ADA or AMC accounts before contacting Team DCS. Again, 99.9% of the time, this is the reason why your scores are still saying not received and why there is a mismatch information that is preventing us from receiving your score and uploading it to your application. So before contacting Team DCS, one, make sure that you have released your scores to Team DCS. So again, following the instructions that are in the guide for those who are medical and podiatry applicants. If you are a dental applicant, at least releasing your score to at least one Texas dental school in order for us to receive it as well. Verify that your AMC ID or DNT PIN number, test dates, date of birth is the same on both your TMDSAS application and your AMC or ADA account. Number three, if you find that one of these components is incorrect, make the necessary changes yourself on your end by going to your MCAT page or your DAT page and making those corrections on your end. Give it about 24 hours for TMDCS to receive your score at that point once you've made those corrections, and continue to check back on your status page for updates. If you happen to be in that point 0.001% of cases in which you have done all the following and your status still says not received, then you may contact TMDSAS Support and we'll help you figure out what the issue might be. But more often than not, 99% of the time, it is usually because of that mismatched information. And it's important to look out for that on both your application and in your accounts. So with updating your DAT and MCAT information, and this includes if you see that there's a mistake on one of those components that we mentioned, or you know that you have to update your planned test dates, or you catch that your ID number is incorrect, you can always change this information on your end. So you can change the planned test dates, edit your past test dates, change your DNT or AMC ID number at any time, whether you have submitted your application or your application has been transmitted, you can change these components at any time during the cycle. Updating your information on your end by going either to the DAT or MCAT sections of your application. Once those changes are made, they are made readily available for your schools to view if your application has already been transmitted. And for these changes, there is no need to contact TMDSAS support. You can make these changes on your own, and it gets updated on your application immediately. So what you see on your end is typically what we'll see on our end as well. So you can be assured that any changes that you make are readily made on your application, and there's no delay. So if you get anything out of this session, I would like for you all to realize that you can resolve a lot of these test score issues on your end without reaching TMDSAS. We are in a busy point of the cycle. We have a lot of applicants reaching out for inquiries, so it may take a little bit longer to get to your message if you contact us regarding your test scores. But it is a good idea to be on the lookout for those three components. Again, your date of birth, your AMC ID number or DNT PIN, and your test dates, making sure that all of those are correct and listed accurately both on your application and in your AMC or ADA accounts. That is the quickest way to catch any issues, to correct them on your end, and don't have any delays on your application once the schools have it. And that is pretty much it on our end. If you guys have any questions, I can go ahead and take those now. I'll go ahead and see if we have any in the chat. And I don't see any in our chat, so I'm assuming that everything that we covered makes sense, and I hope that's the case. But if you have any other questions related to filling out your application that doesn't involve test scores, just feel free to let me know. All right, so it looks like we did receive a question. How long does it take for my test scores to be uploaded? So once you release your scores, it's going to take about 36 hours for TMDCS to receive it. Once we receive your score, it is immediately uploaded to your application. There is no delay with that. In your status page, you will be able to see this confirmation date and timestamp on your end. You won't be able to see the score, it doesn't populate on your status page, but you will be able to see the date and the time that we received your score. And that means that as of that date and time, that score has been uploaded to your application. So it doesn't take very long, there's no delay or once that score is received for it to be uploaded on your application. And so speaking of the test scores, I will go ahead and share some information about the application guide and where it's located. If you have any questions about test scores, again, you can send those here in the chat so we can answer live. And you can also refer to the application guide test score page. It talks about everything that we just mentioned in this session, as well as other important details that you need to know about your test scores, and an FAQ page that you can refer to. The most commonly asked questions about test scores are answered at the bottom of that page. It's really useful to refer to first if you have any questions. More than often or not, it's a question that has already been asked and listed on the FAQ page. So a follow-up question that we had before, will the schools see my old test date and scores? The answer is yes. So in your application, you will have to disclose each of the test dates that you have taken in the past and in the planned, so in the future. And the schools will have access to those test dates, those scores. They all have to be released in order for them to see them. So they're going to see all your scores. The thing is, if you have a test score that you've taken and it's not the best score that you know that you can achieve, it is best to go ahead and release that. Just once one is making sure that you list it on your application. Two is releasing it, and three is adding a planned test date under the planned test dates and the MCAT or DAT pages. That way, the schools can see that you do plan on retaking it, and to be on the lookout for a new test date, a new score coming their way once you take it, and those are released to Team DSAS. Okay, so as a prospective medical student that's fairly new to TMDCS, to whom would one be able to reach out to guidance in navigating the application? Well, we don't have specific person that you can reach out to. The resources that we have available for applicants is number one, the application guide. That is the step-by-step instructions on how to fill out your application. It'll tell you the questions that are being asked of you in each section, how to fill that out. We do have some screenshots on there, videos, links to articles, and it also has some tips and tricks. So to help you troubleshoot any of those technical aspects in the application that might be tricky, anything that you need to watch out for to make sure that your application is not delayed. Just things like that are listed in that guide, and it's very useful to use as you're filling out the application. Um, if you have a question, more than likely it's already on that section in the guide, and you just need to go along and follow along with it as you're completing your application. If you have any advising questions, we don't have any advising services at our office, but we do recommend that you reach out to a pre-health advisor at your institution. We also have a organization that you can go to ask questions about advising. So when to take the MCAT and all that. So let me see if I can pull that up really quick for you guys. Okay, so there is the link to NAP. It's the National Association for Advisors of Health Professions. I might have butchered that acronym, but it's listed on there. All you have to do is go to their website and request to be paired with a volunteer advisor that can help you navigate your pathway, assess your courses, assess when to take your test. Anything else regarding advising would be best to reach out to your advisor and or a volunteer pre-health advisor. And we also have another, besides the application guide, you can also take a look at the Inside Health Education newsroom. It has a lot of information, so it's a lot. filled with a lot of articles, some related to advising from other advisors that have written articles on our platform, application tips and tricks, and so many other news and information that would be important to you for you to know about the health professions area and knowing what's going on. And give me just 1 second, I can get that link for you. Okay, so I went ahead and linked let's see, the link to the Inside Health Education newsroom. Again, that has a lot of articles about what is happening currently in with our schools, and the health professions and advisors and their input. So it's really neat, and I recommend that you check it out for additional questions or things that you might be curious about when navigating this journey in the health professions. I also wanted to point out to a path or a tab that we have on our website. So let me share that really quick. So on here, you will see the tabs at the top. If you go to tmdsas.com, this is the official TMDSAS website. Well, you'll have a lot of information about TMDSAS. And so if you take a look at the top tab here under Prepare, this is broken down by sections in depending on who you are when you're applying to TMDSAS. So if you're a college freshman or sophomore, we do have a tab there. There is a application workshop that talks about how to prepare to eventually apply to TMDSAS. We recently had a first gen student seminar workshop last Wednesday. That is also on there. Once you click on the page, it'll take you to where you can watch it and more information about what that is. We also have a page for parents, non-traditional applicants, reapplicants, and veterans. So I think there was a question here about guidance for military. Let me just double check. Information about military and or Army scholarship. So I don't have specific information about that, but I recommend that you check out the veterans page here, or you can also go to Inside Health Education Newsroom. In the past, we hosted a live session with, I don't remember exactly the name of it, but let me go ahead and research it here. Let's see. I believe we do have a page here specifically for Army and or veterans, military. I apologize, my page is going a little bit slow. And for this particular session, we did have a panel with non-traditional students, as well as, I believe, two applicants who were military applicants, and so they provide some feedback on what it was like to apply as a military applicant. But regarding any specific scholarships that are available to military applicants, I recommend that you go to the individual schools that you're interested in applying to. Check out their websites and see if perhaps they have some information and scholarship opportunities for you. All right, and let me go back to the top of the questions page. Okay, and to follow up with this question, again, we don't have advising services at TMDSAS, so we do recommend that you get in touch with a pre-health advisor at your school, or if you don't have access to an advisor, you can go to the NAP website and we request to be paired with a volunteer pre-health advisor. Okay, if I have doubts regarding correctly adding AP exams and Clep exams, who can I reach out to? So I recommend that you check out the coursework page in the application guide. Any how-tos will be listed on the guide. How do you get to that? If you go up here at the top, Apply Now, Application Guide, click on Coursework. And this page is pretty lengthy. It does have a lot of information, but as you can see, it does have step-by-step instructions on how to enter your courses, each of your courses. So there is a step one, step two, and so on and so on. And it does refer to the advanced placement in our Clep. We do have here is a short video on how to enter those, and more information about AP and Clep will be found following. It would be mainly in this green box, but there is definitely a lot of information about that in this page. So check it out. If you have any questions, send us a message in your TMDSAS application portal. That is the best way to get in contact with us so we can help you fill out your application. And if you have any questions about coursework, just refer to those in there. Okay, we do have another question. I am not sure if the questions about other sections are allowed during this time, but if so, I was filling out the personal biography section and I had two questions about student. I think you already listed those here. Do sporting and FFA achievements go under academic or non-academic recognition? And on the guide, it says list honors, awards, and other recognitions, but during the application, it mentions to list scholarships, which should follow. So when it comes to the activities, that is completely up to you. TMDSAS support, we wouldn't be able to tell you what activity needs to be listed under what category necessarily. You are most well-known, well-rounded person to know what those activities were and what specifically you want to highlight from those activities to showcase your skills, abilities, values, and lessons learned that you want to show to the school. So for figuring out which activity falls under which specific category, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to help you with that because that's more of the advising side. And it's really up to you how you want to categorize those activities. There is on the if you go to the activities page in the application guide, I do want to point out that activities cannot be edited after you submit your application. So make sure that you do review those on your end before you click submit or you make that payment. But if you scroll down, it'll give you some information about possibly a sample of activities and how to enter those into your application. So if you click on Anatomy of an Applicant, it takes you to a resource from the AMC. And here it talks about the competencies that you would like to showcase to the school. So the different competencies that they look for in an applicant for medical school, and these are also applicable to dental applicants as well. But here are just a couple, for example, resilience and adaptability, critical thinking, um, competencies of living systems. So all of these are competencies that you can use to kind of guide you on how you want to enter your activities, and what exactly you want to talk about those so the schools can see that you're well-rounded in a lot of these competencies that they look for in applicants. And this article, Categorizing Your Activities in the TMDSA's Application, will give you a demo of activities, and how you could possibly categorize those in your application. And this is just an example here on advice on entering activities. So it tells you how you can enter those. And again, remember that there are, for all these activities, you only want to list them once. You don't want to list them more than once. That means under more than one category. However, there are two exceptions to that rule, um, which are located here. Healthcare and employment. An activity may be listed in both categories if the experience was paid and if it's both under healthcare and employment, or any leadership activity. So, an activity that results in a leadership role may be entered in both categories. Let's say this was in your community service activity, that did result also in a leadership position. You can list this activity under leadership and community service, but you want to make sure that for the leadership category activity, your description matches what you were doing in your leadership role, and with the community service description, that it only talks about the community service aspect. You want to keep those separate so that way the schools can see how it is both a leadership and a community service activity. So I hope that helps. Again, we wouldn't be able to give you this activity needs to go under here type of advice, but we would recommend that you take a look at this page in the guide, and you can look at those resources that we previously mentioned just to get an idea of what you can do with your activities and how to list them. And I hope that helps. Again, this topic for this week was about test scores, but if you do have any other questions about any other sections of the application, feel free to send those in the chat. And if you do have any questions at any moment during the application cycle, you are more than welcome to send a message to us. That is, again, the best way to communicate with TMDSAS. Send a message in your application portal by going to the right-hand corner, where it has your name, your TMDSAS ID number. Right under there, it'll say send a message to TMDSAS. And that's pretty much your inbox. So you'll click on that and you'll create a message and send it to TMDSAS admin with your questions, and then a team member will respond back to you. Our typical turnaround time is within 2 business days. However, because we are in the busiest part of the cycle, it can take a little bit longer, but just know that we will get to your question as soon as possible. All right, now it looks like there is issues with the NAP website, so let me go ahead and double check that it is the correct link. Give me just a second. All right, so I'm going to see if I can manually find it online. All right, it looks like their page might be down, but let me go ahead and just link to the home page, so their website, and then from there on, you can check it out and get in touch with someone from NAP. Give me just a moment. Okay, it looks like their page is down. I've tried it on different browsers. It's probably just down today, but this is their page website link. See if you can try it again later or maybe tomorrow. But if you're still having issues with that, you can always send us an email to info@tmdsas.com. Let us know that you're having issues getting in touch with the pre-health advisor from NAP, and we can see how we can help you get to a volunteer pre-health advisor. Again, unfortunately, we don't have advising services at our office, but we will do our best to help you find one. And I think it's just that their website is down for today or something. Usually it always works, but maybe they're having some kind of maintenance on their end today. Okay, so I'll stick around for another few minutes. If you have questions, you can go ahead and send those our way, and we can answer those live. Okay, and Jorge, I'm going to go ahead and give you the email address. Again, if you're still unable to get in touch with someone, go ahead and try it out later and see if you can access the website. It's probably down for maintenance, so see if you can get back on it today or later this week. If you're still unable to, then send us an email to info@tmdsas, which is down below, and that way we can see how we can help you get in touch with the volunteer pre-health advisor. See, do you know how many schools have started looking at applications? I believe the schools look at those as they are being transmitted to them. So the earliest that we had applications go out to schools, well, the earliest that you could start submitting your application was as of May 16th. Our TMDSAS does take about 2 to 4 weeks to process those applications, and it depends on how many applications are received per day. Our team processes the application as they come in based on the date of submission. So it typically takes about 2 to 4 weeks. And once the application has been transmitted to the schools, at that point, they have it on their end. How they review that on their end is completely up to the schools. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to them. Specifically, I think each school has different processes for how to review applications on their end, but they start to look at those as soon as they are being transmitted to them. So, as of May 16th, most schools were already looking at applications because that was the earliest date of submission, and our team started processing those applications immediately. So as of that date, they have already been looking at applications. If you have any questions about your application, the status, or anything regarding that, once it has already been transmitted to them, I recommend that you reach out to them. And you can find their contact information here on Get Support, clicking on Contact. And then down below, you will see each of our dental, medical, um, podiatry, and veterinary schools and their contact information. So I'll go ahead and link this in the chat as well. Okay, my calculated GPA did not include my grades from my freshman year. I transferred to a different school after freshman year. This because I put my first school as non-degree seeking. So for these freshman year grades, would these be your AP credits or your dual credit courses? Let me know, and that way we can see how that would play into your GPA. But I did want to mention that it is very normal and common that your GPA on your application looks different than on your transcripts, TMDSAS does calculate GPAs a little different. So for more information about that, I'll go ahead and find, I actually have the link to this page. It's our policy page, and it includes how TMDSAS calculates the GPA. So let me find that really quick, and I can link it in the chat. Okay, so using this link that I will enter in the chat, provide some additional information about GPA calculation. So TMDSAS does follow the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board rules for calculating the GPA. That will be listed in the policies page. And you can take a closer look at the courses that would be calculated into your GPA and the grades as well. And whenever you do submit your application, that GPA is not final. Your application will still need to process. At that point, an applicant liaison will review your coursework, make sure everything is entered correctly, and make any adjustments that are needed as they see with your courses to make sure your GPA is accurate. Once your application has been transmitted to schools, when you check your status page, that should reflect the accurate GPA. And if you had any questions about that, at that point, you can reach out to your liaison for questions. Once you submit your application, how long does it take for schools to start sending secondary applications usually? It just depends. So once the application has been transmitted to the schools, at that point, they have your application and they will, some of them will go ahead and send you secondary invites. Some will wait until, well, some will give you the opportunity to go ahead and start that immediately. Some will already have a portal ready for you to start a secondary application. But I recommend that you go to after submitting in the application guide and go to secondary applications. And this page will provide you some information about secondary applications, what schools require them, and how you'll receive information about those. So secondary applications are managed by the schools and not Team DSAS. So unfortunately, the only information that we have is what's on that page. But for further questions, you can always address those with the school. And again, secondary application information will be found in this link. Okay, to sign up for a test date, do I have to apply to test? When do I pay? So this is a great question. You might want to refer to the test scores page. It does give you a link to the ADA page as well as the AMC. You'll want to go to those pages depending on what test you're signing up for any additional support on how to pay for your test, the dates that are available. But I'll go ahead and link the test scores page of the guide in here. But once you already have your AMC ID or your DNT PIN number, you can enter it in your application. You'll enter your test dates or future test date if you haven't taken it just yet. Um, Once you take it, then you'll release your score. Instructions again are listed on this page for the test score page. It tells you how to release a score depending on what test type you took. Once it's released, again, it could take up to 36 hours for TMDSAS to receive it. And check your status page often. If you have any other questions as to why your test score still says not received, revisit this office hour or take a look at the FAQs page. We do have an FAQ and it tells you what to look out for if it still says not received on your end. All right, so I don't see any other questions in the chat, so we'll go ahead and end the session. Thank you all so much for participating and asking your questions. Great questions. I thank you guys for the engagement, and these questions will also help other applicants as well. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send those in your messaging system in your application portal. That is the best way to contact Team DSA support to help you with your application. And I'll go ahead and close it out. We do have another office hour next week on Monday at 1 p.m. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.